Are you racing 70.3 Turkey this year? If so, we've got the video for you because in it, two very experienced Ironman U certified coaches and a two-time 70.3 Turkey finisher are going to talk you through exactly what to expect in Turkey on your 70.3 journey. Okay, so who are we? Well, I am Stephen Moody, or Coach Steve to my athletes. I am an Ironman U coach of around 15 years. I've been coaching for 20 years, and I've got a number of athletes to Ironman Turkey. But this pales into insignificance with my guest, Wendy Mader, who has not only been was a specialist coach to a Turkish triathlon team, but she actually went over and has raced and done really well in 70.3 Turkey. And delighted to pick her brains on all things on the race course. Wendy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Super, super. So how do you still go over to Turkey? As in, is it a race you would recommend for your athletes?
Gosh, I would highly recommend this race. I started coaching a team called SOSFIT in 2016, and they would invite me to Turkey to coach a training camp twice a year, one in April and one in the fall, usually October. And so I was fortunate to be able to be there. We would have camp, and then we would all go do the Turkey 70.3. The first year I did it, it was in by the Gloria Sports Arena. So the first year they did it, it was a different venue than it is now, and then they moved it to the Land of the Legends. So I got to do that venue as well. The Land of the Legends is just beautiful, and you know, swimming in the Mediterranean Sea, gorgeous water. I've swam in Kona, ocean piers, different oceans. But to me, my dream, I'm a swimmer, was to always be able to swim in the Mediterranean Sea. And so it's just a beautiful swim course, a little bit different than your usual 70.3 course, and then very flat and fast bike and run. And it's kind of like this Land of the Legends is a very like amusement park-ish. So it's great venue to have a vacation with your family if you have kids.
Fantastic. Cool. All right, so let's go a little bit more, dive a bit more into detail on that. Um, it's an unusual looking swim course as we were just discussing there. Like the first time I've seen a two loop and an inner loop in an Australia accent. How did you find the course? What was the water like? Wetsuit legal? What we got?
The water was wetsuit legal. I was surprised. I didn't have a wetsuit. We just happened the year I did it, it happened to have a cold front the week leading up to the race, so it made it a wetsuit legal race. I didn't have one. I was quite chilly. I'd wish I had one. And but again, the beauty of the water, the clearness, the beauty of the color was amazing. And it was a different start than what we're used to here in the United States. And so I got pummeled and kicked and hit more than I've ever in any other race I've had. So I'm always glad to be a strong swimmer so I can kind of swim with my head above water a little bit to kind of get out of the chaos. And the Australian exit was new to me. And so we kind of went over that. Me and the team that I coached, we did a loop. We did the Australian exit together just so we were familiar with what that meant. And it's just, you just do a loop, you get out of the water, and then you do that inner loop. It looks like there's room for error if you were to go off course, but I don't recall that being an issue. I think with the nature of the kayaks and the support and the buoys, there was no issue with sighting the wrong buoys or being on the in the wrong loop.
And just for people who are new to the terminology, an Aussie exit is part of the swim where you actually exit the swim midpoint onto dry land and do a little turn and then re-enter the water. And sort of a key thing there, I always tell my guys with an Aussie exit is because you're going to be horizontal for a while and then popping up and running. I always say just take your time, kick your legs a little bit more, get the blood flow, and then
Yeah.
slowly get up when you're coming out of the water here onto the land, and there'll be a point you have to run round, and then take your time, wait till you waist height or so, and then dive back in because people dive in too quickly and their goggles come off and all the rest. The key is not getting dizzy and entering the water again, and it does look absolutely classic. In terms of the anything in the water, wildlife wise, was there any jellyfish to be aware of or fish?
No,
Or just nice
not at
and
all. I mean, it was quite, again, we had this cold front, so it was quite windy the morning of, so it made for a little bit turbulent swim. And but I think, again, when there's turbulence, when it's kind of a condensed course like that, and there's bodies, there's turbulence from bodies or being around you and then waves, but being saltwater, you're more buoyant. And I don't remember, that really impacting me. I didn't see any wildlife at all in the water. Jellyfish, fish in general. I mean, maybe there were some light little fish near towards the shore, but it just nice white beachy area right outside. If you stay at the hotel venue, the official hotel of the course, you just walk right out and there's the start.
Okay.
And you
Right
actually,
there. Hmm.
getting ahead of myself, you actually transition and you run through the hotel through to get to your transition area.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Um, okay, we'll come on to transition. Just another thing, it is a rolling swim start, as with what you call it, most of the 70.3s in Europe at this stage in terms of a rolling swim start. What that means is you will seed yourself in terms of your expected swim time. So if you're a 35-minute swimmer in the pool, you put yourself in the 35-minute corral, and there'll be 40-minute corral, 55, up sub 30. And how that will look on race day is there'll be these metal gates where there'll be volunteers and they will all hold their arms out. And these guys were probably in the 30-minute corral because it looks as like only a few in the water. Every 5 seconds or so, a beep will go and they will let up their arms, literally, and then that will allow in 4 or 5 athletes at once. Essentially, this allows Ironman to control the flow of swimmers into the water and moves away from Wendy's previous experience when it was a mass start and there was a lot of bodies and it can be a lot of contact. So it's much more beginner friendly. And it's just, again, get yourself in the right corral, seed yourself correctly, because it's key that then you can so you will be with swimmers around that have the same ability and you won't get swam over by stronger swimmers. What other swim tips do you give your guys when they're doing their first 70.3, Wendy?
Beforehand, make sure you have a clear and a tinted pair of goggles, depending on the weather conditions. It's nice to have clear goggles if it's going to be overcast and cloudy, tinted goggles if it's going to be sunny. I do recall when you're swimming out, you will be swimming into the sun. So it makes sighting a little bit more difficult. But it is a smaller condensed swim course because it is two small loops. And so you're not going to be going that far to have to really sight. The buoys, I remember the orange buoys were quite large. And so I've been to some events where the buoys have been yellow, and then with the yellow sun, it's been more difficult to see, but it wasn't really that difficult to see. I think, again, as a swimmer, I always encourage athletes sight frequently, at least until you round the first buoy to make sure you're on course. Alligator eyes is the sighting technique that I always encourage athletes to do. Bring a wetsuit to every race you ever do, because this day and age, you could go to a race that's never wetsuit legal, and then we have this really extreme heat like we're having here in the United States this year, that it's probably not going to be wetsuit legal. But always be prepared with, your core shorts, your wetsuit and practice swimming in open water without a wetsuit as well as with a wetsuit, because you just got to be prepared for either option race day.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see later on in the race timetable, there is actually an option for having a practice swim the day before. Definitely take advantage of that. It gives you a feel for what that beautiful water is going to look like, and just an idea about the temperature, etc., and get what the level of buoyancy. So definitely take up on that. Okay, so our guys have gone around the 400-meter buoy, the 800-meter buoy. They've exited at 1200 meters, gone up 1450, 650, they've gone out, and again they're kicking their legs a little bit more to make sure they come out. And then we're into our transition mode. It looks like is it a long enough transition to transition one, or is the what's
It's
the
it's not it's not that long at all. The beach is again right in front of the hotel, so I don't even recall. You kind of run a little bit on the sand, but then you run kind of on a bridge, a little bridge into the hotel. I'm assuming it's the same way into the hotel where you run in the lobby, and then in front of the hotel is the transition area for the bike.
okay? And it's a single transition or a split transition?
Split transition.
Okay, and that means for newbies, that means that you'll have your set up your bike in and your bike bag in one place, and then you'll have set up your run bag in another sense. And Ironman use a transition bag system, which is a bit different to your local domestic race, where you have a blue bag, which is your swim to bike bag, where you'll have your helmet, you'll have your bike shoes, etc. And that's part of the flow, which you'll need to check out. And then you'll also have a red bag for your transition two, which will be a different location, as Wendy's pointed out. And that's where you'll have your runners, your sunglasses, etc., whatever else you want to use. Is any other transition tips you tell your guys, Wendy? They make sure it's all good and smooth.
You know, just know your ins and outs, know where you're going to enter, know where your bike is, depending on the setup, but normally that you'll brack your bike according to your bib number. So just pay attention before you exit, before the transition area closes. Make sure you really eyeball where's your bike, how many racks do you have to pass when you're running to your bike, and then know your exit. This is pretty easy. In and out is pretty easy for this venue. And then, make sure you wait until you get to the mount line to mount your bike, and make sure before you leave transition, one of the first things I do when I get to transition is fasten my helmet. That's pretty important. I'm pretty sure you got to have your helmet fastened before you run your bike to that mount line.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you don't, if it's a penalty if you touch the bike without having your helmet on in European races. So again, Wendy's 100% right. Put the helmet on first thing, clip it on, and then you're free to run with the bike, etc. And you're right about again. I always get my guys to walk transition the day before, know where they're look for the landmarks where they'll know is my, as you said, two racks in. Is it right in line with that tree or that building? That's quite distinctive. So therefore, even then, they're all a bit disorientated and they're running through transition. To go, okay, right. I need to look for the big yellow building. I'm two racks in, rather than be lost in transition, as the phrase goes. Yeah, dismount line, etc. Brilliant. All good. Good advice there. And then out to the bike exit. I believe the cutoff time for the swim is 1 hour and 10 being kind of standard. I couldn't
Yeah.
find exact times. Can you remember any cutoff times, Wendy? Or
10. I just remembered 110,
yeah,
the
that's good.
standard WTC 70.3
Yeah.
swim cutoff time.
Sure. A swimmer like yourself doesn't need to worry about cutoff times for the swim any or for any of it anyhow. Cool. All right. So we'll move on to the bike course, which is known as being a very, very fast bike course. Actually, just before we do that, a little shout out again. Thank you again to Wendy for giving us all this like local insight and knowledge. Here are our socials. You can like and subscribe the channel as you're watching. Definitely check out Wendy's Instagram. She's more cool than I am with all the gram stuff, but she's got some really cool video and content going up really very often. So make sure you follow her on Instagram. You'll get some great tips, not only for this race, but for all just your general triathlon training. As I said, and subscribe and follow us on YouTube and on our channels because there's not only we don't only do race content, we do other kind of great coaching content too. Okay, enough self-promotion. The bike course. Bike course, Wendy, what's your memories of this bike course?
It's very flat, very fast. It's my fastest 70.3 time on a bike course. And so in preparation for this, it's very important, especially if you're going to ride an aero tri bike with aero bars, to practice being in the aero position for 56 miles, 90K, because you will be in aero position the entire race. I don't recall any, if at all, elevation gain. I'm sure there's a slight hill. Maybe you get to stand up, stretch your back out a little bit, but it's super fast on highway like roads, nice, um, no bumps. I think that the year I did it, I think the surface was pretty fairly new. They redid the roads and it was like highway like roads.
Yeah, and it looks like it is a there are two there's you come out of where we are T1 which will be down here. So you do this red bit once and then you do the yellow part twice and then you come out and then you'll exit T2 here. So yeah, and if the elevation gain, I did check this and I did manage to get this, it's only 80 meters over a
Yeah.
90K, but so it's
Okay.
pancake flat and it is lightning fast from what I've heard. Um, I did also hear that it can lead to a lot of drafting. Did you see much of that on your time out in the course or?
Well, yeah, every time, every race, there's drafting, it seems like, but definitely in a flat course, especially it was windy. Like I said, there was some wind the race day, caused some turbulence in the water, windy. And yeah, it gets really frustrating, especially, for me, I was one of the top contenders for overall win. And then I see women drafting off men. And, what do? I just let them go. I'm going to do my own thing. I don't want to get caught. I'm
Yeah.
just going to do my own race. But yeah, you will see drafting. They just don't have enough officials out there to monitor it.
Yeah, I mean you're right. Without any hills, it doesn't get any chance to break up the any of the draft and all the rest. Looks like there's a couple just in terms of the actual technical nature of it, one or two little kind of turns that to be aware of, but it looks very once you're out there in aero on flat, kind of smooth roads, it is time to get into that big gear and churn it out.
Yeah.
Um, any other particular memories of the course that you'd like to share with the gang?
No, I mean, again, talking about race officials, I do remember a large portion of the race because I was one of the top contenders. There was a race official around me a lot of the time, which was fine. And I did see some penalties out there, but not as much as they should have been giving out. And due to the nature of those out and backs, you are going to get to see, any friends or any competitors on those out and back sections. But like I said, it's just super flat, fast, nice roads.
Yeah, and again, you're right. As in, other people do their thing, but also with those sort of courses, if there are packs on us, just be very aware of contenders or of just even packs going around you and all the rest, and communicate when you're overtaking someone. It matters a lot because you will people will be moving at a great speed on these courses. In terms of the aid stations, you've got one at 18 kilometers, and then was it 55 kilometers, and then again it's the same aid station, but you pass on lap two the on 31 and 68. The in terms of the aid stations, there's again also specifically important for this sort of flat fast course. You need to know how to use an aid station because people will be coming in at speed, and if you don't do it correctly, not only will you miss picking up much needed nutrition and hydration, you'll end up getting into trouble with people slamming on the brakes as they're not doing and just veering in front of you at the last moment. So it's key to learn how to use an Ironman aid station. And myself and Wendy could talk about this for ages, but I've made a little video on this. It gives you tips how to do it. Also shows demos by the pros and the rest. Do make sure you check that out. And that's in the comments below. The in terms of how an Ironman aid station works, there's some key elements that again goes through in more detail in the video. There's at the start you can chuck your rubbish or your trash, as Americans will say, um, at the start and at the end. You cannot chuck it anywhere else, and if you do and get caught, you will be rightly disqualified because you do not go and litter in another person's country. And we are guests as and in Turkey, so do please respect it. And then they'll typically will have water, sports drink, food, typically chopped up bananas, sports drink, water, and there's portaloos at the end, and also mechanicals at the end of each of the aid stations. Little bit of a debate at the moment what the isotonic drink will be on in Turkey. Most European races are using was it precision hydration products, and that's again different to America, which are mortal hydration. Some of the more Eastern European countries, such as Estonia, etc., are using Enervit. So you will find out again. Make sure you check out the athlete briefing because that's how will they will announce exactly what they're using. But it is useful to get on board some isotonic drink to make sure. Or how did you handle your nutrition on the day in Turkey yourself, Wendy?
I had my own nutrition. It was actually the first race I ever ate the dried fruit, like dried mangoes
Ooh.
and pineapples, because they had an abundance of that in the hotel that we stayed at, and I really enjoyed it. So it worked for me. I tried out some new nutrition. I didn't know what the sports drink was going to be, and I had enough of my own water and sports drink. I can't remember what I used at the time that I used on my own. I think maybe like the last aid station, I grabbed the sports drink that was offered the year I did it with no problems. It's just really important that, I like to slow down and not hurt the volunteer giving me a bottle. So I want to slow down and make sure I'm reaching out and I firmly grasp that bottle that they're handing out. So again, avoiding me falling or them hurting their wrist or me hurting my wrist. But I like to always try to grab aid right away in case I miss it.
Yeah,
And I have time as I'm going through the aid station to grab it at the end or the middle if I need it.
yeah, no, absolutely. And there's this classic little short in the in my video where It's one of the pros, and he just hasn't slowed down, and he actually literally knocks away 5 bottles in a row, and you're going like, and if pros can do it, I guarantee your age group can do it. So you're right, slow down, make eye contact, soften your wrist, make sure you control of the bike, communicate with the volunteer, grab, secure, communicate you're coming out, etc., and do it all safely, secured, and off we go.
Yeah, and just pay attention to who's around you. Pay attention how close the bikes are behind you, and you're gonna be able to hear. Usually, you can hear their wheels behind you, so you can gauge their speed and how close they are. So once you get the aid, you know how you're gonna end up exiting and getting back out on the course.
Absolutely. And also these things can look like the Battle of the Somme in terms of there's bottles and this because people just drop things and it's just again be visual what's on the floor in front of you and whatever. It's tricky, but it's something that you have to be zoned in on. Okay,
Yeah.
doke. All right, so we are back. We've done our transition. We're back to a different area of transition, and we'll come into T2. Any transition two tips you give your guys, Wendy, or yourself? What's your top transition?
Again, know where your stuff is. It's a little bit trickier when there is a second transition, but you do set it up the night before. So make sure you don't forget anything because it's not like when you get to race morning, you get to go in T1. You can't go in T2 race morning because it's in a different area. Make sure you know where it is. I recall all our bags in T2 were left on the ground in our where our bib number was supposed to be. And just grab your stuff. I always go through the process of, you know, how I'm gonna, take off my helmet, put it on my bike, take my shoes off. Maybe I take my glasses off, sometimes I switch glasses, sometimes I don't, but I'm ready for both. Are you going to wear socks with your shoes? Did you put your socks on after the swim? You kind of go through all that stuff and you want to make sure you practice it. But be quick, but be methodical. You don't want to forget anything. If you're going to take a water bottle or gels or any nutrition, don't forget to take it, have it ready, have it visible and grab it and go. I usually will, grab my visor and grab my bib number, a brace belt. And I usually, as I'm running out, I'm usually putting that stuff on my body.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm a big fan of the phrase "nothing good happens in transition two," as in so. Yes, get in, and you're right. Be methodical. Know what you're going to do beforehand. By the way, I'm also a big fan of socks. I do love dry feet when I'm running. But don't sit down. Don't think about it. Just get going. As in, even have a little go bag where you're running out and you've got the race belt in there. You got your visor. You're just constantly moving because the minute you stop, your legs start to seize up. You sort of got, and you start thinking, oh, I've got a half marathon to run. I don't really feel like it if you're if it takes you 500 meters to a kilometer to get everything on and get yourself on, you've already nailed one that part of the race, and you're
Yeah.
every step forward is a step closer to the finish line and the after tent party. The course itself looks like it's two loops. What do you remember the course? Any hills? Was it
It's very
surface?
flat, very fast. I mean, I was knocking off those kilometers. I was going a lot quicker than I anticipated. And it ends in the middle of Land of the Legends. So again, you're ending in this kind of amusement park like structure, and it's kind of fun. Just tons of people, very spectator friendly. I think, there were spectators that seemed like lined up along the whole course because it is two loops and just flat and fast.
Great. And yeah, we have some pictures of the finish line, and you can see it's almost finishing in Disneyland. Um, Anything else in terms of was it hot on the day? How was your heat management? Was it anything you'd
Yes, it was
advise
very
people to?
hot. Yeah, it was very hot by the time I got to the run. And because I have a lot of experience and I train this way, I'll alternate. Again, whatever sports drink they had. I think it might have even been Gatorade. I don't remember, but I'll have, a little sips of Gatorade every aid station. And that's usually because of the electrolytes in the Gatorade. And then I usually grab a cup of water every aid station and I either drink it or I throw it on my head or throw it on my body somewhere to keep my body cool because it all comes down to managing the heat and keeping as cool as possible throughout the duration of the run. It is open, so there's like no shade. And so that heat, that sunshine can get pretty brutal on most courses these days.
Okay, yeah, no, again, heat management will be key. And again, I agree with you taking sips because I think people make the mistake as I must take on water, I must take on lots of drink to cool myself down. But what that has the effect is it just have big, it can only so much your body can absorb and sweat out, as in, so you end up with a sloshing feeling in your stomach that doesn't help. You're almost better off cold thing of water down your back. If they have ice and you have a cap, I put on ice on a cap and put that down. It
Yeah.
slowly melts and it what was it cools your head, which a lot of you expel a lot of heat, which is also very helpful. I typically tell my guys to run in shade, but you're telling me there's none to run in, so um, definitely have a cap on. Okay, cool. And then in terms of aid stations, it looks to be buckets of them. Here's where we are on the first way out. There's 1.1 kilometers, 3.5, 6, 7, 8, 12. There are absolutely tons of them. So take advantage. And as Wendy was saying, you do something at every aid station, even if it's just a slip or was it rinsing your mouth with the isotonic drink, that has
Yeah.
effect of releasing and engaging the enzymes in your brain and all that to actually help with the heat management. Anything else you guys advise your guys at aid stations, Wendy?
I mean, I think you said it. Take something, a liquid of something, and either pour it on you or take a sip of it mainly. And just ensure that you practice and you have a nutrition plan for both the bike and the run, and you try to execute your nutrition fueling plan as best as possible. Also have a plan B and C, because your stomach could be irritated some way or another that never happened in training, but it could happen race day due to temperatures. And so if your plan's not working, like if you plan to have bananas and that's just not settling well in your stomach, make sure you have a plan B and C of what else you can have, because it's just important to stay fueled with calories.
Speaking of things going wrong, are there many portaloos on the course, or are there like there's toilets along the way?
Um, I'm sure there are, I just don't remember. And we are in post-COVID times, so volunteers over the last what I've noticed over the last few years post-COVID is there's less volunteers. Sometimes there's less aid stations too because of the less volunteers. And so the race that I just did this past weekend, it was just a sprint. They didn't have any portalets. It was
Oh,
just the
okay.
toilet that they had in the pavilion. And I'm like, you need at least one. But I recall them being in transition, and I recall them being at maybe one or two aid, probably two or three aid stations out on the course. I
Yeah.
just didn't have to use them to really know for sure.
Like that. It helps with your run time. Yeah, typically if all going well, you'll have this will be the typical run station, as in there'll be the water, isotonic drink, either Enervit or was it Precision Hydration. Cola will be there, Morton gels will be there, and some sort of Morton bars. Uh, each race tends to have local delicacies. So like there'll probably be, was it I don't think Turkish Delight will be on offer, but we'll have some sort of local fruits, etc. Again, your ice on a drink and the water. So as as Wendy's saying, take a sip of that. As I'm saying, pour that down the front of your top and all the rest. And there are, again, you can only drop trash in the set areas. Don't litter a beautiful country like Turkey. And there should be toilets if the needs arise. Cool. All right. And this is what the finish line looks like. As I said, it does look, as I said, it looks like in the Magic Kingdom. But it's what was your finish line memories like, Wendy?
It was amazing because again, I'm there coaching a team. I'm racing in a new country. I was first in my age group. Maybe I was third overall. I think I was the third female overall. So that was just kind of a cool experience to be in a different country. And again, it was quite warm. It was quite sunny by the end, but we all had a place to meet up and cheer each other on and see everyone finish. And we were big into Starbucks. So it was nice that there was a Starbucks in the venue, because when all was said and done and we all finished, we all went to Starbucks and we all chatted about our race, and it was just a cool experience. And then that evening was the awards at that venue.
Ooh,
It was a
excellent.
party. It was a big party. It's a little bit different than what we experience in the United States.
Yeah, no, we'll cover that a little bit. And was it there's the Party of Legends or the Legends bouquet? We'll just cover a banquet. So So again, thank you very, very much to Wendy for all those cool tips. We're going to talk a little about the diary now, and then what you should do and what you should not do, and some other things to bear in mind as you're getting yourself ready. And when it comes closer to race day, Wendy's talked a lot about how to keep on top of your nutrition and drinking and all the rest. And there's a video in the comments below with a bit more detail if you're not sure about that. If you're not sure what to pack, there's a packing checklist down there. And tapering, when you're actually sort of winding down 2 weeks out from your race and you're suddenly thinking you're going to get sick and lose your leg is broken. It's not. You're just a little bit taper anxious. We'll talk about how to do that. And then top last minute tips. Get your bike serviced, make sure you got all your charging cables. Was it read the race brief, watch these videos again, drop myself or Wendy a question. We'll give the contact details at the end. But those are things that will set you up for success. Now, the actual timetable, this is for this year's race, so this is bang on point. There's a couple of things here, Wendy, that you said that you didn't manage to have a chance of. There's a parade of legends and a welcome banquet. Did you manage to? There was no parade for you or a welcome banquet?
No. The year I did it in the Land of the Legends, that was the first year they had it in Land of the Legends, so they didn't have all this going on, the first year event. So I'm
Okay.
not really sure what the Parade of Legends are, other than maybe it's just a parade of nations, so where
Yeah.
you walk with your country in a parade.
Yeah, I suspect that's the same. It's a shame that they missed out having a legend like you in a parade. That's what I'm thinking. But for the non-legends amongst us, registration will open on Friday at 10 a.m. And my advice to my guys is get there, get it done early. Try to not spend too much time on your feet, as in like it's all very easy to walk around the expo and then you can like essentially sort of like expel a lot of energy. There's a bike course tour, which I'm not too sure how they do it, whether they actually drive you around or else, but that seems like a cool option.
Yeah, I've never seen that at a race.
Very unusual, as I said. So I think even if you are definitely try it out. Is what we did when I raced in 70.3 South Africa. They drove on the bike course in a bit of a bus. I presume it's something like that. But really, kind of, it was useful in South Africa because there's a couple of hills where you sort of go, okay, right,
Right.
at 30K, be ready for that. But it sounds like you'd just be going up and down a motorway with that flat course. But
Yeah, I don't think you need a tour of the course.
no, again, even just check out get on your bike and check out the surface and go up and down the gears, make sure it's working since after you arrived. Um, Other items again, you can check in on the Saturday if you want, between 10 and 7. The bike check-in will be between 1 and 7 p.m. on the Saturday. You have to do that beforehand. You will have access to your bike on the race morning. So again, don't leave your fuel on it. Don't leave your bike computers on it. Just put it in the place. And as Wendy pointed out, know where it is. Get your landmarks. Know your exits. Um, any other tips for the night before for athletes, Wendy?
I mean, like you said, try to minimize time at the expo. All expos are the same. If you've been to an expo before, you're gonna go to the same expo. Um, it's minimize time on your legs. Try to, if possible, I like to check in all my stuff early and be done with it. People prefer late. It depends on the weather. But get all that stuff done early so you can, again, get off your legs, have an early last meal, have an early dinner on Saturday, and just stay off your feet
Yeah.
mainly.
Oh no, I see. And then also just the one thing I would again strongly recommend there's the nine
Oh
till ten,
yeah.
the official training swim, as we were discussing earlier.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely take advantage of that. There's no harm, and also as you described, the water as being idyllic, so why not? As in, you almost pretend you're on holiday until you realize you've got a 70.3 the next morning. And speaking of that, transition will open at 6. You've got an hour and 45 minutes to get all your stuff checked, rechecked, and all the rest, and get yourself prepped. And then 8 o'clock is when it all starts. And then you do have the option for the Legends Party at 8:30 that night. Um, Anything else that you would advise here? Any other last minute hints or tips?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, again, get up early, get there early, stand in line for the Porta John is always nice reason to get to your venue early. That's a late, I mean, 8 a.m. Start is pretty late. I'm used to 7 a.m. starts at 70.3s. So, get up early, enjoy the sunrise.
Absolutely. I I know you say you can queue to the porta john. I tend to pick hotels that are really close to transition, so I can do my last visit to the toilet in a very pristine like hotel toilet,
Yeah.
because I have a big fear of porta johns. But what needs must and all that. But you're right, get there early. If something goes wrong, you can fix it. And I said, there's nothing that really will go wrong on the morning of a race day that you cannot fix if you've got an hour to kind of you your tire might have popped overnight, or you've was it someone's knocked over your bike and all the rest. You need to rearrange your trailer. That's all very doable within 10-20 minutes. It's not if you turn up at like was it 7:30 and you're sort of going, oh my God, and then you just panic to find mechanics, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Take the time. All right. Okay, cool. Excellent. Listen, I hope you all enjoyed that again. A million thanks to Wendy. As I said, I really enjoyed talking to her about these races and all the rest and learning from her experiences. And constantly impressed. I didn't realize that you were was it a third female in 70.3 Turkey?
Yeah.
I
That's pretty
doff my
cool.
hat. Well done.
Thank
Um,
you.
she will. Wendy's also really open to just getting helping you out with email and questions. So do hit her up for some questions if you have any fun. And she's also an absolute terrific coach. And if after you've done well in this race, after listening to our video, make sure you hit her up for some superb coaching advice, and then guaranteed to be on the podium like she was. Well, maybe not if you pay attention to her. You have to pay attention to her. Wendy, anything to share with the gang?
No, if you're thinking about Turkey and haven't signed up yet, definitely go register. It's a great time, getaway. It's a great country, and it's just a good time. It's just a really fast, flat, fun course and entertainment afterwards.
It does sound wonderful. PB course, and then also someone to distract the family and the friends as well who suffered with all the training and the long and have you been disappearing for Saturday and Sunday mornings for hours on
Yeah,
end. It's a nice way to
yeah,
pay back. I'm actually
definitely,
definitely going to have a look at this course as well. I think I haven't been to Turkey yet. But Wendy,
definitely.
thank you very, very much. Thanks to everyone for watching. Again, like, subscribe, and even if it was, make sure you check out if you're not doing Turkey or think about other races. There's loads of other courses reviewed, and myself and Wendy will be talking about other races such as Kona, Chattanooga, and all the rest going forward. So make sure you subscribe and get info on that. So thank you very much, guys.